Let's get started as usual with our quotes of the day from the universe and from Abraham. Let's see what the universe and Abraham have in store for us today. First, from the universe. For the earnest student, taking responsibility means never forgetting to have fun. Seriously, the universe. We love our quotes from Mike Dooley and the universe. And very apropos for today's guest, talking about, yes, taking responsibility is important, but let's not forget to have fun in the process. And this is actually something that came up to me just this past Friday night at a ceremony where I was out in Brooklyn with a group of people, with a group I hadn't done work with before. And it's traditionally, sort of quiet, introspective, self-reflective kind of work. But like during the middle of the ceremony, people started getting a little rowdy and shouting out and laughing and having fun. And I was just kind of laughing to myself. It was very entertaining for me. And I was just thinking to myself, oh, I'm not going to really do any deep work tonight like I thought I was. I'm just going to have fun. And then I realized having fun can be deep work too. And oftentimes we think that, like, to do the deep inner work, we have to be serious and, focused, and we have to dig up all these painful memories and things like that. But sometimes just cutting loose, sometimes just, being in the moment and really just allowing ourselves to be free like children once again. Allowing ourselves to play is sometimes the most important thing we can do. I've heard it said that researchers look and that's how our brain creates new connections, by playing. And that's why it's so important for children to play. Children learn while playing. And I think that's something we tend to forget as we become adults, that we forget that playing, having fun, is learning. So yes, if we're going to be an earnest student, having fun is so important. Does this mean that we don't work hard? Does this mean that we don't show up and be as present as we can? No, of course not. Absolutely, we show up and be present. But having fun in the process not only makes the process that much more enjoyable, but we actually get it in our nervous system. We actually feel it in our bodies so much more. So this is a wonderful quote today, and something that I think it's a reminder I always need, and I think it's a reminder for us all that, to always have fun while we're learning, because, having fun can actually be very deep, serious work. So a wonderful quote from the universe. Let's see what Abraham has in store for us today. Trust that they're making their lives work in the way that they're making their lives work, and just teach through the power of your example. Abraham. Now you see Abraham here. I think Abraham here is also talking about kids and adults too. But it's about really trusting that people are doing whatever they need to do, whether they're 3, 30, or 90 years old, that we're all doing the best that we can and whatever we really need to do to get by in life, to survive, to thrive, what we think that we need the most. And that really, we can't change anybody else. We all have this tendency of thinking, oh, if I can only help this person change, only if I can make them change, they could be better, they could be having so much more, they could be doing this, they could be doing that. And it's you can't force anybody to change. We can inspire others. And by living as an example of how to be different, of how to show up better in our lives, then then we can help people to change. But that's not forcing people to change. That's not making somebody change. It's we have to just stand in our authenticity. We have to stand up and to show up better for ourselves in our own life and trust that that example will inspire others and help others, and that people will see that, and then they will take that and use that and model that behavior. Because ultimately, the only change we can make is in ourselves. We cannot make a change in anybody else. It's always up to that individual to make their own change. And it's always up to us to make our own change. So let's trust in life, let's trust in the universe, trust in whatever word you want to use, that things are actually going along as best as they can, given all the circumstances around us. And yes, I know there are some horrible things that have happened or going on in the world. There are a lot of people who are going through very painful moments and very difficult times between natural disasters and man-made disasters. Look, it has always been that way. But believe it or not, even with all this mishigas, even with all this craziness that we're experiencing, things are still better today than they have ever been before in our history, in our recorded history. You know, we forget that, like, people are living longer than they ever have before. There are actually less people involved in conflicts around the world than there has ever been before. That, you know, things are you know, the standard of living is higher than it's ever been before. Less people are in poverty than have ever been before. Does this mean that there are not people in poverty? No, not at all. We still got a ways to go. It's just, you know, when we look at our yardstick and how we measure things, we have a tendency to use a very short stick because we're only comparing today to yesterday. But if we compare today to 500 years ago, you know, how much cleaner things are, how many more children are surviving childbirth, how many more women are surviving childbirth, you know, how many more people are educated than any before, how much more access there is to information. I mean, especially now with the internet. I mean, God, if you just have a cell phone, you have literally a whole world of information at your fingertips. So things actually are better than they've been before. It's just we're much more aware of all of the craziness in the world than we've ever been before. Because before we used to be confined to like our little village, and occasionally we'd get reports when somebody would write in from town and tell us about what happened, but we didn't really know what was going on the other side of the world. Now we know in seconds what's going on the other side of the world. So it's just we have so much more access. So it feels like things are just horrible compared to the way before. They actually are not. If you look at the real numbers, look at what's really going on, things are amazing compared to before. Does not mean that there aren't difficult things to deal with. Does not mean that there's still not people suffering. Does not mean that there's still not a lot we can do to improve things. It's just about perspective, and it's about taking a different perspective and understanding. Again, if we can trust that things are really going the best that they can, then the only work we need to do, not the only work, but the most important work we need to do is to be the best example we can be for those people in our lives. And if we can be a better example for just those handful of people, the couple of dozen people, whoever we happen to touch, how small or how large our reach is, if we can touch their lives a little bit, and then they start to live their lives a little better, and then they start touching other people, that's the way we change the world. That's the way things unfold. That's the way we grow, and things become even more amazing. Wow, two wonderful quotes. Oh, big shout out to Lee, Luke, Madhavi. Oh, thank you all for tuning in on the Facebook live stream. And again, for anyone listening through Talkradio.nyc, if you want to see the video, just go to facebook.com/talkradio.nyc. Wonderful to see you all. Thank you, Ta. I know, brother, I know you resonate with all this stuff. So, two wonderful quotes. I hope you enjoyed them. And we'll have two new quotes for you next week.